What does a typewriter have to do with an email? What does CC mean when you're writing an email? What is BCC? Have you ever been CC'd? Has someone asked you to CC them? What do these terms mean? This is an old-fashioned term that everyone needs to know in the 21st century, especially with business email writing. I'm Timothy Barrett, the host of the 4 Business English Rundown. This is the show for people all over the world who want to improve their professional communication skills in English. So what does CC mean? What is BCC? So CC is short for carbon copy. You'll see this on every email app that you have. You'll have an option to CC and BCC. What does it mean? What is a carbon copy? This goes back to the old days of a typewriter. Now, if you were on a typewriter, every letter that you type, you have to type again and again. You can't just make 5 copies. When people were using typewriters, they really didn't have photocopiers like they do now, or you can't scan something to make copies of it. So you'd have to retype it. If you wanted like 5 copies of a contract, 5 copies of a letter, then usually a secretary would have to write it out 5 times. And so that can take a lot of time. It's very labor intensive, and that means it's money intensive as well. You're paying someone to do that. So one invention that they used was a carbon copy. So carbon is one of the elements, and so carbon, if you touch it, is kind of dark, and you don't want to get it on your hands. It's kind of like ink or something like that. It kind of sticks to your hands. So they would have a sheet of carbon, a paper of carbon, a carbon paper. Then they would take that sheet of carbon and put it between 2 pages of paper, 2 white pages. They put the carbon in the middle. And then as the person is typing on the typewriter, as you press a button on the typewriter, it marks that letter on the front page, but also hits the carbon in the middle, and then it makes an imprint on that back page, on that second page. Sometimes they might even do it where it was 3 or 4 or 5 pages thick. And of course, the last page, it might be kind of a light copy. If they were a light typer, you might not be able to see exactly what was typed on that 5th page because it was so far removed. So you can imagine that was a huge time saver. Now, that's just kind of, at this point, that's historical. Nobody really uses typewriters anymore. Why would you, in the 21st century? But we still use that term, carbon copy. So that means if I'm sending an email maybe to my boss, but she wants me to carbon copy this other person, or maybe I'm emailing the other person and she wants me to carbon copy her, the boss, on that email. So I'm CCing other people. In my business email writing course, we talk about when to use CC and BCC, and it can cause a lot of problems. But one thing you don't want to do is use CC too much. You don't want to CC your boss with every email. That would probably get annoying. Or you don't want to be CC'd on every email. If somebody is, every time they email, they include you, do you really want to know about every email they send? That just fills up your inbox. If it's not really to you, or you don't need to kind of micromanage, you don't need to see every email that they send, you just want the end result. You don't want the responses back and forth, then you might say, what, don't CC me on that. Unless there's a problem, then talk to me, but otherwise you don't need to CC me on that. Just tell me what the result is. What's the final version. That's all I need to know. Now, BCC is a little bit different. It's a blind carbon copy, BCC. And when you CC someone, they will see, they'll have the 2, they'll have their address, maybe you have more than one person. The CC, it'll have who is carbon copied on it. But if you're receiving an email, you won't see who is BCC'd. And you'll have no idea if someone was BCC'd or not. You'll just know who was in the to list, who was in the CC list. The first paragraph of an email is probably the most important paragraph. After reading it, the reader will decide, should I read the rest of this email, or am I just going to ignore it? Am I just going to discard it and move on to the next email in my inbox? So watch this next video about writing that first paragraph of an email. But before you go, if you enjoyed this video, conquer that like button and make it ours. Work hard today and enjoy tomorrow.